Hey, this is Shane, the host of From the Shadows podcast, and I'm here with Jason, the super producer.
Greetings, everybody.
And the one and the only resident skeptic, the Ozark Howler.
Hey, I'm here.
Can you guys tell the excitement of the Howler?
Well,
no, all right.
You know me, man. I try to underpromise and overdeliver, right? So I don't need catchy. Hey, I don't need catchy phrases. I don't need snappy hooks. Ain't no clickbait with me. Okay, it's the real deal.
There you go.
Well, for all of our new listeners, since we're a new member of the Odyssey Radio Network, we'd like to invite everybody to stick around after this short intro and check out what we like to call the Midweek Howl. And what the Midweek Howl is it's just our little story time with the Ozark Howler, in which we try to lighten your week up a little bit with a 10-15 minutes of laughter. So stick around, laugh with us, enjoy the stories. No harm, no foul. So just be ready to go to a world that you probably hoped didn't exist in the world.
And expect to be entertained.
Expect to be entertained. So you got it. Do you have any warnings or?
No, you know what though, I wasn't. But what I was going to say is, so maybe after I just told you there's a hook, there's no hook. There's a hook. I think I said it earlier on the last one I did with you guys. I got a story for almost everything. Because I was on the street for almost 30 years, so I got a story for everything. So if you got a subject, send it to From the Shadows podcast, and I'll tell you a story about
it. Yeah. And for those new listeners, the Howler has 30 years of being a sheriff, a highway patrolman, air marshal, a homeland security, and probably a lifetime of just being an all-around funny dude. So
redneck, man, redneck.
There you go, redneck. So we hope that you give us a little segment a chance and go check out the Howler. And like you said, if you got some stories that you guys are interested in, asking about, or if
he's going to have to send it to you guys because I'm not on social media, so it's got to go.
Yeah, he's not on social media. So if you really want to say some good stuff about him, we'll share it with him. And if you say some bad stuff about him, don't waste your time. He won't ever hear it. He's kind of fragile, so we won't let him. So with that, thanks for welcoming us onto the Odyssey Radio Network, and we hope that you enjoy the show. Hey guys, so as some of the new listeners and maybe some of the old listeners maybe are figuring out that we're going to be we are part of the Odyssey Radio Network, and some of our, I guess we can call them brothers and sisters in the podcast network. There's some big Star Trek podcasts on here, so if people listen to us are fans of Star Trek, go check out some of the other podcasts on here. But Howler, I know Jason has never heard this story. I know you've got a great.
That's because I don't tell it. I don't tell it very often.
You don't tell it. Okay.
I don't tell it.
So wait a minute, Howler. You have a story about Star Trek?
I do. I do, and I've only told it to a few people. I'm leery about telling it because I told Grover that I don't know if I want to tell that story. It's kind of an intimate story, and I don't know. But it's 20 plus, almost going on 25 years old. So circumstances have changed now, and it probably won't hurt anybody's feelings if I tell that story.
No. It's all in reference back to the Osage flood of 9. It's all water under the bridge.
Yeah, that's right.
Or over
the bridge,
or through your neighborhood.
All right. I look forward to hearing it. Let's hear it.
So, hey, we used to have to do these what they call dealer application inspections. So, there was car dealers or junkyard dealers or whatever, and you'd have to go and make sure that they had a legitimate storefront and had a phone. Back in them days, they had to have a phone and their business hours posted, and there was just some weird stuff. So I'm getting trained by an older officer, and we're going out to do this dealer inspection. He's going to show me the ropes. And he said, hey, before we get out here, I'm going to tell you something. He said, when we go in there, there's going to be a girl working there. And I just want you to know that a few years ago, she kind of stalked me a little bit. And I said, do what? And he goes, yeah. He said, I went in and did this thing. And next thing I know, she's kind of stalking me a little bit. And it got to the point where I had to and I'm going to leave names out. I had to ask this other officer, a female officer, to go talk to her and tell her, hey, I'm married, and me being she took me being nice to her as me being interested in her. And he said, I just wanted you to know, just be careful when we're here doing this thing, because if this gal's working, you know what I mean? The potential's there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I walked in back in my prime, early 20s, big arms, little brain, all that. And here's this big old German gal working at running her dad's junkyard. Now, I don't want to take too many preconceived notions, but that statement in itself, this big old German gal running her dad's junkyard, ought to start painting you a picture.
All right. Okay. All right.
So I'm kind of going through some, and there was a deal, and I think the license had to be in her name because Dad had so many DWIs. He was finally a felon. He never really, he didn't, break any other laws other than DWIs. Or there was a weird deal there, and I think that's what it was. German Dad had too many DWIs, which was common back in the old days to have a drinking father. And so anyway, this gal looked like, well, I'm trying to think of my NFL quarterbacks. Okay. There's got to be one,
Hey, listen, I'm sorry. If you're comparing, comparing a girl to a woman to an NFL quarterback, and if it's not like Tom Brady, then it's probably.
Well, I was thinking there's got to be somebody that played at USC with long blonde hair, 6'2", 210.
Todd Marinovich.
Yeah,
how about Todd
like
Marinovich?
That. Yeah, you know what I mean?
All right.
So anyway, I just asked the precursory. I mean, it's a forms we fill out, so everybody gets asked the same thing, right? So anyhow, I got out of that deal with nothing. I just did my deal, and I signed, and she signed, and my FTO walked out with me, and we got in the car, and we went and ate ice cream, which is what we used to do. So a couple of days later, my roommate, who was also a young cop, he said, hey, what's the deal with that car down at the end of the driveway? Or we were renting a place in a cul-de-sac that was brand new. You know how back in the 90s when they were putting up all these duplexes and strip houses. So this had been a bean field or cornfield, and now they just put a brand new concrete street in, and they were building brand new things. And we were the last people on it. And he said, down at the end of the street, there's this white car that's been sitting there. I said, well, I don't know. And when he'd walk out, anyway, it took off a couple times. So it finally dawned on me that was the car that was sitting outside that junkyard business when I did that application, because it had something that set it apart. It was a real nice Chevy Caprice, not like a stripped down cop car, but a real nice, like an old person would drive.
Yeah. And I remember those.
What the brothers would call a bubble, you know what I mean? Like a 95, 94, Caprice, but had the spoke wheels. And I'm wanting to say it had as crazy as it sounds, it had a vinyl top or a half vinyl top or some weird, they had
isn't that the Landau cover?
Yeah, or a Brougham or something. Chevy had some kind of, it was like wannabe Buick or like half a
wannabe.
Like an Eldorado. Like one of those old
like
Eldorado.
It was like a poor man's Cadillac.
Right.
So anyway, I walked out with my uniform on one day to go work. Now we got cop cars in the driveway, so it rolled up, and it's her. It's the German gal from the junkyard. She's having small talk with me or whatever, whatever I'm doing. I don't know, you know what I mean? Just having a little small talk. So I tell her whatever I tell her, and get in my car. I got to go, right? So, but alarm bells start going off that maybe. It's a transfer of affection from whatever feeling she had for whoever before now to me, because I'm the new guy that came in and was nice to her. Does that make sense? So
yeah. I mean, did it dawn on you that, like, what's she doing in this cul-de-sac?
Well, it did a little bit, but who am I to judge, right? Because I'm a liberal at heart, so who am I to judge? And I thought maybe she'd be, maybe she's stalking my roommate, because I told her, I had a girlfriend or whatever, and I, I told I had a single cop as a roommate, and anyhow, I started seeing his car all the time, and it was like cloaking in the distance. It'd be there. I'd be on a traffic stop, and it'd just be there.
Oh, wow.
Well, and then that day when I was talking to her through the window there, so she had a scanner, them old Bearcat scanners. Yeah. She had a scanner down there, and she was listening to our radio. I mean, I guess she would. So, as this progressed, I realized she's listening to me when I go out on a traffic stop or whatever, and she's just driving by. She's just driving around. Well, one day radio called me out one day to go to something about 15 minutes before. There was 2 or 3 times that she was in my driveway when I walked out to go to work, like she knew when I was going to work. Well, and I'd talk to her a little bit or whatever, but, radio called me one day home to go out for something, so I was leaving work about 15 minutes early. So as I'm turning out of my street onto the main road to get to the highway, I pass her, and I thought, well, oh my God, she's coming to my house to ambush me.
Damn.
Well, that's okay, because I'm out. You know what I mean? I'm out. But I'm watching the review, and she cuts a big U-turn just like the cops do, like to follow me. So I thought, you know what? This ain't good. So I kicked the accelerator down a little bit, and I'm coming up to a T intersection where it's going to have a stop sign, not a light, but a stop sign. When I go right or left, I'm going to turn out onto a big road that leads to, ultimately it leads to the interstate. But it's a 65 mile an hour, big, nice, 11-foot concrete lanes, 10-11-foot concrete shoulders. So it's going to be a big road. So I wheel out there, and I think when I get to that stop sign, I think, lady, there's no way. See ya. And we used to say turn the jets on. So I kind of started kicking her up a little bit, and she went to light speed because she was catching up to me.
Wow.
And now I'm running.
I can't give her any more.
Yeah.
Jimmy, give me some more. I'm a doctor, not an engineer.
So now I'm running about 85 and 65, and I'm out of town, but I'm not. You know what I mean? So I get to worry. Oh my God! I need to slow down or turn my red lights or something on. You know what I mean? Because it ain't gonna. Because she's got a big Caprice, and the Ford Chevy. I had Crown Vic, and the Ford Chevy people tell you them Caprices were nothing to mess around with back in the 90s. So. Finally, I've got to turn my red lights and siren on and kick it up to about 115 and get out on the big road and take a quick turn. Is the only way I could get away. Okay. So finally, when I finally escaped, I was able to turn all my emergency equipment back off and go finish the task that they'd called me out for. And I don't remember what the task was. So I was working in a rural part of Missouri, and the sheriff's office had this gravel parking lot. It was just old school, 1950s still. So I remember I had to gather my clipboard, my ticket book. I had all this stuff to gather up, right? And I was leaning out of my car. I got out of my car, but I was leaning back in to get all the stuff out and put my hat on, which is one of those things they make you do. And I heard this gravel. Can I look up? And there it is. That white Caprice. She pulled up. So I said, "Hey, what's going on?" I act like I hadn't seen her. Like, "Hey, what's going on?" She goes, "Nothing. I seen you. What was you in such a hurry for?" And I said, "Well, I had," and I remember what lie I told her. But she said, "Well, I was listening to the scanner. I didn't hear him call you." I said, "Well, he called me at home. You probably wouldn't have heard it." But she had this giant oval platter, not a plate, but a platter, like a turkey platter. You know what I mean? A big oval platter, and it was full of chocolate chip cookies and had a piece of saran wrap on it. Like clear cellophane. She said, "Well, I was going to bring these by for you." And I said, well, thanks, and I'm standing there now I got the clipboard and ticket book. I got all this junk, you know what I mean? And I put this big old oval platter of cookies on top of it and made some small talk or whatever. And, and finally I said, hey, I got to get in work. And she said, well, just bring the platter back when you're done or whatever. Well, I walked in, and at that time it was a sheriff's office jail combination. So there was trustees, there was people around or whatever. But I got to worrying as I'm walking through, because I got to thinking, she's got to see. I don't know. You know what I mean? She's got to see that I'm not biting on.
You're not interested.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Her bait just ain't getting it.
That you just traveled. You just punched it to 115
I just
to get away.
I just fled. So
Yeah.
Then I thought, you know what? Maybe she poisoned these cookies.
Oh, jeez.
If I can't have you, nobody can, kind of deal, So I remember walking in the back door of this jail, and you'd walk through to get to dispatch. There's a few ways you could go, and I had this giant platter of cookies. And I remember these trustees walking by, and they said something, and I don't remember what they said to me, but they said something. And I said, hey, you guys like chocolate chip? And they said, do what? And I said, hey. And I followed them back to the, where the jail kind of place was. And I told the jailer, I said, hey, why don't you guys hand these out? And he goes, are you serious? Because at that time, Missouri had done this mandatory sentencing for people with no driver's license. So out there in the county, the problem when you live in a small town and they find out you don't have a driver's license, they can arrest you every day of the week because they recognize you. So there was like 50 people in this jail, and 35 or 40 of them were for driving without a license. And what they did was the second time they give you 2 days, and the third time they give you 3 days, and the fourth time they give you 5 days or something weird like that. So now they've changed the law back away from it, because what they did was flood these freaking jails with people whose only crime was driving without a license. And about over half of people were in there for driving without a license. Over half of them are people I had arrested for being just cause, And I remember telling these trustees, I said, hey, why don't you give these guys cookies? Tell them I'm sorry. I got them locked up. And he goes, are you serious? I said, yeah. And the jailer goes, you serious? I said, yeah, just pass these cookies out, man. And but I need the plate back. And then I thought, I'm up there. I remember I'm up there doing some paperwork. I thought, man, I hope they're not poisoned. I mean, shit might kill half the, what's going to happen, 15, 18 of them die. You know what I mean? So instead of killing myself, I'd kill 15, 18 inmates. But they weren't, I mean, her doses must not have been lethal because nobody died. And anyhow, the hook on it, and that's the car had a license plate. And I remember my boss telling me that day, license plate said STTNG.
So he said again,
it said STTNG. Sam, Tom, Nora, George, I guess it'd be, in the phonetic alphabet of the cops.
Right.
And he goes, what do you reckon that license plate means? And I said, I don't know, sitting down, sitting. When you see this personalized plate,
Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Hey, how'd you get that? You didn't hear the story, you got it. That's what it meant.
Yeah.
So she was a Trekkie.
Yeah. Which I find very appealing, but I just didn't know it at the time.
So she was trying to beam you up.
I guess, I don't know, but what do you think of that, man? It's out there. The people.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's definitely some '90s stalker stuff right there.
Yeah, you got a subject. I got a story about it.
You haven't had a '90s stalker unless you had one that had a Star Trek: The Next Generation license.
That's the one we're talking about. I probably had another one, but that's the only one that's memorable.
Wow.
You know what I mean? That's the only one that's memorable. I've got several stories, but those kind of people are.
So I guess the moral of this story is if you're going to stalk someone, don't have a personalized license plate.
No, I think it's make it mean something.
Make it mean something. Okay.
Make it mean something. You know what I mean?
Something.
Make it mean. It's like a tattoo. Make it mean something. Don't have one to have one. Make it mean something.
So, well, I guess that goes hand in hand. I mean, she's stalking you to the point that she's listening on the radio scanner and making you cookies. She's making that stalking mean something.
Yeah, because 25 years later, I'm still talking about it.
Okay, I got a question. Did anybody suffer any ill effects from those cookies? Diarrhea or anything? Nothing?
No, but I mean, they're used to eating jail food, so
yeah.
Well, they probably chalk it up to the jail food, you know?
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. Wow, that is a good one. Ladies and gentlemen, a final word. Please visit us on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/From the Shadows Podcast, and on our Instagram page at instagram.com/From the Shadows Podcast. You can visit our webpage at FromTheShadowsPodcast.GoDaddySites.com, or contribute to our Facebook discussion page called After the Shadows, and tweet us on our Twitter feed at twitter.com/podcast_from. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to hearing from you all. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.